For 25 years, the galaxy believed Princess Elra was dead. Across thousands of worlds, history archives repeated the same story, the royal shuttle carrying the young princess had vanished near the edge of explored space during a catastrophic gravitational storm. Investigations had been conducted. Memorials had been built, records had been sealed, the story had become fact. Only Queen Seraphine never stopped looking far beyond the mapped regions of the galaxy, beyond trade routes and military patrols, beyond even the oldest navigation charts. A lonely vessel drifted through darkness, illuminated by strange blue stars. The ship looked ancient from the outside, its hull covered with repairs accumulated over countless years. Inside, however, the atmosphere was surprisingly normal, mostly because someone was arguing with a coffee machine. "You are a machine," Adrian Hale said. The machine emitted an offended beep. "You heat water." Another beep. "You do not possess emotions." The machine displayed a message: emotional damage detected. Adrian stared at it. "You learned that from old Earth archives, didn't you?" The machine proudly played a victory chime. From the other side of the room came laughter. Princess Ira sat near the observation window, her long silver hair reflected the pale starlight outside. At first glance she looked human, beautiful and elegant, but her long ears revealed her alien heritage. "You lost another argument," she said. "I didn't lose. You're debating kitchen appliances." "That machine started it. It makes beverages. It judges me while making beverages." The coffee machine beeped again. "All right." Laughed harder. For a moment the weight of 25 lost years seemed distant. Outside the window stretched the veil expanse. No official map acknowledged its existence. No government claimed knowledge of it. No explorer was supposed to find it, yet had survived there 25 years earlier. After her shuttle disappeared, she had awakened in this impossible region beyond known space. Strange civilizations had once lived there. Massive artificial structures drifted between stars. Ancient machines silently watched travelers from distances measured light years. Then Adrian had arrived accidentally, as he often reminded everyone. "I was exploring," he liked to say. "You were lost," Elir always replied. Both statements were true. Together they had spent years searching for a way home. Most attempts ended in failure. A few nearly ended in death. One memorable attempt had somehow resulted in Adrian being chased by 6 floating maintenance drones carrying ceremonial banners. Neither of them understood why. Suddenly a soft alarm echoed through the bridge. Ara's smile faded. Adrian immediately turned toward the navigation display. A brilliant line of light had appeared in the darkness. Ahead, the sensors began reporting impossible readings. Energy levels climbed. Ancient systems hidden throughout the ship activated simultaneously. For several seconds neither spoke. Then Elra slowly stood. Her golden eyes remained fixed on the growing phenomenon. "No," she whispered. Adrian checked the data twice, then 3 times. His hands trembled slightly. It can't be, but it was far ahead. Space itself was unfolding. An enormous circular gateway emerged from nothingness, its surface shimmering with patterns older than recorded history. The Stargate, the one they had searched for, the one every ancient record claimed would eventually reopen, the one leading back to known space. After all these years, a path home finally existed. stared silently at the gateway. Most people would have felt relief. Instead, fear appeared in her eyes because returning home meant facing a question that had haunted her for 25 years. Who had wanted the princess dead badly enough to erase her from the galaxy? The Stargate continued to grow before them. At first, it resembled a distant ring of light. Minutes later, it dominated every sensor display aboard the ship. Ancient energy signatures pulsed across its surface in rhythmic waves, illuminating the darkness of the Veil expanse. Adrian sat in the pilot's chair with his feet resting on a control panel that had clear's throat not worked in years. Tell me again why we're flying toward the giant mysterious portal. Elra folded her arms. Because we spent years trying to find it. Yes, but now that we found it, it seems significantly more dangerous. That makes absolutely no sense. It makes perfect sense. Looking for something and finding it are completely different experiences. The coffee machine emitted a supportive beep. Era pointed toward it. Even the machine thinks you're ridiculous. The machine displayed Adrian's survival instincts detected. See, Adrian said proudly, you programmed that, allegedly. The princess shook her head, though a small smile appeared despite her growing anxiety. As the ship approached the gate, thousands of symbols began moving across the navigation screens. The symbols belonged to no known language, yet the ship's ancient translation system somehow understood them. Access authorized, return path available. 25 years, the words echoed silently in Elra's thoughts. 25 years since she had seen her mother. 25 years since she had seen her home. 25 years since someone had tried to erase her existence. The smile slowly vanished from her face. Adrian noticed immediately. You don't have to go back. She looked at him. What? You heard me. The entire galaxy believes I'm dead. Then you've successfully avoided politics for 25 years. That's honestly impressive. Reluctant laugh escaped her. Adrian, I'm serious. He turned toward the enormous gate. We survived impossible things out here. Giant predators, ancient defense systems, that station full of self-aware cleaning robots. Elira groaned. The robots weren't hostile. They tried to imprison me. They wanted you to stop touching everything I was investigating. You pressed a glowing red button. Scientific curiosity. You pressed 37 glowing red buttons. They were very inviting. The memory briefly lightened the atmosphere, then silence returned beyond the observation windows. The gate continued unfolding. The structure was unimaginably old. Massive metallic segments rotated around a central vortex of silver light. Entire cities could have fit inside the circular opening. The sensors suddenly emitted warning tones. Adrian immediately sat upright. That's new. The gate center brightened. Energy readings climbed rapidly for several tense moments. Neither moved. Then a projection appeared above the central console. An alien figure materialized. Tall, featureless, made entirely of shimmering blue light. The beings studied them without speaking. Aura instinctively stepped closer to Adrian. The holographic figure finally raised one hand. A star map appeared. The familiar galaxy glowed before them. Then another image emerged. The royal capital. She recognized it instantly. The towers, the orbital rings, the palace. Home. After 25 years, it still existed. Exactly where she remembered. The figure Spoke in a mechanical voice. Destination. Confirmed, then the projection vanished. The bridge became silent. Adrian slowly exhaled. Well, Elijah asked. An ancient cosmic intelligence just verified our address. She stared at him. That's your response I've had. Stranger mornings, you once got trapped inside a sentient cargo elevator. It was a very emotional elevator, despite herself. Elra laughed again, but when she turned back toward the star map, the laughter faded. Something felt wrong. She could not explain it. The destination was correct. The path was open. Everything should have felt hopeful. Instead, a familiar unease settled in her chest. A memory, a fragment of voice. Someone speaking inside her shuttle 25 years ago. Someone she trusted, someone she could almost remember. The harder she tried to grasp the memory, the more it slipped away. Then another alarm sounded. The gate had fully activated. The silver vortex expanded across the entire viewport. The journey home had begun. Adrian reached for the controls. Elra remained motionless for several seconds. Finally, she whispered something so quietly that only she could hear it. If someone betrayed me. The engines ignited. The ship accelerated. The enormous vortex swallowed the vessel whole, and for the first time in 25 years, Princess Elra left the veil expanse behind. The transition through the gate lasted only seconds. For Adrian, it felt like falling through a tunnel made of liquid starlight. For Elra, it felt like 25 years collapsing into a single moment. The ship shook violently. Streams of silver energy raced across the hull, while countless stars stretched into glowing lines beyond the viewports. Warning lights flashed. The coffee machine began screaming. Why is the coffee machine screaming? Adrian shouted. The machine displayed existential crisis in progress. Understandable, Adrian replied. The vessel emerged from the vortex with a violent jolt. Everything suddenly became quiet. For several seconds neither moved. Then the sensors exploded with activity. Thousands of signals flooded the displays, communication networks, trade routes, military beacons, civilian broadcasts, life, an entire galaxy of life. Eller stared at the screens. After decades of isolation, the sheer amount of activity felt overwhelming. Ships moved everywhere. Cargo fleets crossed major corridors. Planetary defense satellites orbited distant worlds. News transmissions flowed through space at incredible speeds. The galaxy had continued living without her. Slowly, she approached the observation window. Far ahead, a familiar constellation appeared. Her breath caught. She knew those stars. She had seen them from her bedroom balcony as a child. Snorts for the first time since entering the veil expanse. Tears appeared in her eyes. I'm really home. Adrian remained silent. The moment belonged to her. Then the ship's sensors detected something unexpected. A nearby automated navigation buoy suddenly activated. Ancient device rotated toward them. A scanning beam swept across the hull. Several seconds passed, then another beam and another. The buoy appeared. Confused, a synthesized voice echoed through the bridge. Unidentified vessel. Pause, please transmit registration. Ship remained silent. Unidentified vessel. Pause, please transmit registration. Another pause. Then, please stop existing suspiciously. Adrian blinked. What? The buoy repeated itself. Please stop existing suspiciously. Even Elira laughed. Galactic technology has become stranger. I think that's an improvement. The boy scanned them again. Suddenly, every display aboard the ship lit up. Genetic match detected. Royal bloodline confirmed. The boy froze. Its voice vanished. 10 full seconds passed. Then the machine spoke again. This time, it sounded almost frightened. Princess Elra. Silence. The boy scanned her a second time, then a third, then a fourth. Finally, it transmitted a priority signal into the communication network. Emergency channels activated throughout the sector. Alert messages spread outward at near light speed. Adrian watched the transmission logs appear. Well, I looked at him. Well, I think you just ruined someone's day. Within minutes, responses began arriving. Military stations, government offices, commercial traffic authorities, research outposts. Every system was asking the same question. Is this real? The sensors detected vessels changing course. Some were approaching from hundreds of millions of kilometers away. Others immediately transmitted verification requests. One government channel demanded proof that the princess was not an elaborate prank. Another demanded proof that she was not a clone. A third message simply contained, "How?" Sat down slowly. The reality of what was happening finally struck her. The galaxy wasn't expecting her. The galaxy had buried her. Entire generations had grown up believing she was dead. Someone had spent 25 years making sure of that. The thought brought back the unease she had felt before entering the gate. A memory flickered again. A corridor, a voice. Someone speaking urgently. Someone she trusted. Someone connected to the day. Her shuttle vanished before she could grasp the memory. Another alarm sounded. This one was different. Adrian immediately checked the sensors. A ship had emerged from hyperspace nearby. Then another, then a third. Military vessels. Large ones, far larger than ordinary patrol craft. Frown. That was fast, extremely fast. The approaching ships maintained formation. Their weapons remained inactive, but they were clearly moving. To intercept, Adrian leaned back in his chair. You know, when I imagined returning to civilization, I pictured restaurants, good food, comfortable chairs, fewer near-death experiences. The coffee machine beeped. Agreed. Then a new transmission arrived. Unlike the others, it carried the highest possible security clearance. The sender identification appeared. Royal Palace. Froze. For 25 years she had imagined this moment. The transmission continued. Priority message for Princess Elra. Authorized by the Queen. Her hands trembled slightly. Somewhere across the galaxy, her mother had just learned that her daughter might still be alive. Nobody spoke for several seconds. The message remained glowing above the central console. Priority message for Princess Elra, authorized by the Queen. Elira stared at the words as though they might disappear. 25 years of wondering whether her mother was still alive. 25 years of imagining this exact moment. Her hand moved slowly toward the control panel, then stopped. Adrian noticed immediately. You don't have to answer right away. She swallowed. I know, but she wanted to, and she was terrified too. The transmission indicator continued blinking patiently. Meanwhile, outside the ship, the military vessels were drawing closer. Their polished hulls reflected distant starlight as they formed a protective perimeter around the much smaller vessel. Adrian glanced at the tactical display. Good news. What? They haven't shot at us. That's your good news. I like maintaining realistic expectations. The coffee machine beeped. Realistic expectations improve survival rate. Elra laughed despite herself. Then she finally pressed the accept button. Static briefly filled the bridge. The holographic display flickered. A figure slowly appeared. The moment the image stabilized, Era froze. Her mother looked older, Clear's throat not dramatically older. Alien lifespans were long, but the difference was there. Small lines around the eyes, a quiet sadness hidden beneath royal composure. The queen was sitting alone in what appeared to be a private chamber. For a long moment, neither woman spoke. The queen's expression remained completely still, then her eyes widened very slightly, almost imperceptibly. But enough for Elijah to know. The queen recognized her immediately. Not as a possibility, not as a rumor, not as a genetic match, as her daughter. The queen's lips parted. Elra, the princess felt tears threatening again. Hello, mother. Silence followed, a silence heavier than any conversation. The queen slowly stood. For the first time her composure cracked. Elra, she said the name again as though she could hardly believe it existed. The princess smiled through wet eyes. I know. The queen laughed unexpectedly, a short, disbelieving laugh. Then tears appeared in her eyes as well. Across 25 years and countless light years, mother and daughter simply looked at one another. Adrian quietly stood. This seems private. Without waiting for permission, he attempted to leave. Unfortunately, he walked directly into a storage compartment door. The impact echoed through the bridge. The queen blinked. Era covered her face. Adrian rubbed his forehead. I meant to do that. You absolutely did not, replied. Human greeting ritual. No. The queen unexpectedly smiled, the first genuine smile since the transmission began. Who is he? Adrian straightened. Adrian Hale, explorer, occasional mechanic, full-time victim of unfortunate circumstances. The queen looked at him carefully. This human returned with you, nodded. He saved my life more times than I can count. That's because you stopped counting at 12, Adrian said. It was closer to 20. I'd prefer not to keep statistics. The queen listened quietly, but behind the warmth in her eyes, something else lingered. Concern, worry, fear. Eventually her expression grew serious. Elira, I need you to listen carefully. The change in tone was immediate. The princess felt her stomach tighten. What is it? The queen hesitated, as though choosing her words carefully. The moment your identification appeared on the network, several emergency sessions were requested. By whom? Members of the High Council. Something in the queen's voice felt wrong, very wrong. Adrian noticed it too. That's bad. The queen looked directly at him. Some of those people built their careers investigating my daughter's death. The bridge became silent, frowned. So the queen's eyes darkened. So several of them appeared frightened. Nobody spoke. The words settled heavily in the room. Not surprised, not confused, frightened. A cold feeling crept into Elira's chest. The forgotten memory surfaced again. Voice, a corridor, someone she trusted. Someone connected to the day everything changed before she could grasp it. Another alert appeared. An encrypted transmission had been intercepted. Nearby, unknown sender, unknown destination. Only a fragment could be recovered. One sentence. The computer projected it onto the screen. She's Alive, for several seconds nobody moved, then a second line appeared. Activate contingency protocol. The Queen's expression immediately hardened. Adrian slowly looked toward Elra. The humor that usually filled the bridge vanished somewhere in the galaxy. Someone had just learned that the princess had returned, and they were already making plans. The intercepted message remained suspended above the bridge. She's alive. Activate contingency protocol. Nobody spoke. The words seemed to drain the warmth from the room. Queen Seraphine was the first to recover. Elra, you cannot travel alone anymore. The princess folded her arms. I survived 25 years beyond known space. I am aware. I crossed regions where navigation systems went insane. I am aware I was chased by creatures larger than cities. The Queen nodded. I have read the preliminary reports. Adrian raised a hand. In fairness, one of those creatures turned out to be a space station. Elijah sighed. It looked alive. It tried to charge docking fees. The Queen stared at both of them. For the first time she seemed genuinely confused. Then unexpectedly she laughed, only briefly, but it was enough to ease the tension. The moment passed quickly. Her expression soon became serious again. Someone believed you would never return. The princess nodded. And now they're afraid. Yes. The connection remained open. Neither wanted to end it, not after losing 25 years. But official duties were already pulling at the Queen. Emergency sessions, military deployments, political panic. The entire empire was reacting. Before ending the transmission, the Queen looked directly at Adrian. I owe you a debt that can never be repaid. Adrian shifted awkwardly. I mostly just crashed into things until they worked. Ara laughed. That's disturbingly accurate. The Queen smiled one final time. Then the transmission ended. Silence settled across the bridge for several moments. Neither moved. Outside, the escort fleet continued guiding them toward the capital. Hundreds of vessels now appeared on sensors. News ships, government craft, curious civilians. The story was spreading everywhere. Adrian activated a public information feed. Instant regret followed. Thousands of headlines flooded the display. Princess returns from the dead. Royal miracle shocks galaxy. Mysterious human appears with lost princess. One article displayed Adrian's photograph. He frowned. I look terrible. You always look like that. Thank you. The coffee machine beeped. Image accuracy confirmed. Traitor, Adrian muttered. The machine seemed pleased with itself. Hours passed. The closer they came to the capital, the denser traffic became. Massive orbital trade routes crossed the region. Gigantic freight carriers drifted between planets. Luxury liners glittered like floating cities. For Elra, everything felt simultaneously familiar and alien. She had once known this civilization. Now she felt like a visitor. Her gaze drifted toward the stars. Then she froze. A memory surfaced, stronger than before. Not a feeling, not a fragment, an actual memory. A corridor inside the royal shuttle. Running footsteps. A voice behind her. Male, calm, familiar. Don't ask questions. Just board the shuttle. Elijah suddenly stood. Adrian looked up. What happened? She pressed a hand against her temple. I remembered something. The humor vanished from his face. What? The princess closed her eyes, trying desperately to hold on to the memory before it disappeared. There Was someone who, I don't know, the answer frustrated her, the memory remained incomplete like a damaged recording, but more details slowly emerged, a dark uniform, a silver insignia, the scent of engine coolant, and fear, not her fear, his, whoever the man was. He had been terrified. Someone helped me board the shuttle. Adrian leaned forward. Before your disappearance, yes, someone you trusted. Elir opened her eyes. I think so. That was the most disturbing part. The feeling of familiarity, the certainty that she knew the person, yet she could not remember his face before either could continue. A proximity alert sounded. Adrian immediately turned toward the sensors. A vessel had just emerged from hyperspace nearby, then another and another, not military, not civilian, unknown, no identification codes, no communication signals. Nothing. The escort fleet reacted instantly. Defense formations shifted. Weapons powered up. The bridge became silent. Adrian studied the readings. His expression hardened. That's not normal. The unidentified ships maintained distance, watching, waiting, almost as if they were observing the princess's return or confirming it. One final encrypted transmission was intercepted moments later. This one was even shorter than the first. Target verified. Message ended there. No sender, no destination, no explanation. Era slowly looked toward the stars beyond the viewport. Someone had hidden the truth. For 25 years, someone had expected her to remain dead, and now as she finally approached home, those same people were beginning to move. The unidentified ships remained at the edge of sensor range, watching, following, never approaching close enough to trigger an incident, never retreating far enough to disappear. The escort fleet clearly noticed them. Additional military vessels joined the formation every hour. What had begun as a simple escort now resembled a small armada. Adrian studied the tactical display. I don't like this. Sat beside the observation window. You never like anything. I like sandwiches. That is your defense. Sandwiches have never tried to assassinate me. Coffee machine beeped. Statement verified. Adrian pointed triumphantly. See, the princess rolled her eyes. Outside, the stars shifted as the fleet entered another transit corridor. The capital system was getting closer. Traffic density increased dramatically. Thousands of vessels crossed the region. Massive orbital habitats glittered in the distance. Commercial stations larger than continents drifted between planets. For most travelers, the sight would have been breathtaking. For a felt strange. The galaxy had moved on. Entire generations had lived and died while she remained trapped beyond known space. Realization still felt unreal. A notification appeared on the central display. Incoming encrypted package. Royal security clearance. Adrian opened it. The message contained sensor recordings from the day of Elra's disappearance. The Queen had apparently ordered every surviving archive connected to the incident to be delivered immediately. The princess stood. Can we access them? We can try. Several files opened. Most contained damaged telemetry data, navigation logs, communication records, emergency reports. Nothing useful. Then one file caught Adrian's attention. Timestamp. It originated minutes before the shuttle vanished. Wait, he enlarged the recording. A security camera appeared. The image quality was poor. The corridor looked familiar. Ara's eyes widened instantly. That's it. The Memory, that's the corridor. The footage began playing. People moved through the hallway, crew members, security, officers, technicians. Then the image froze, not naturally. Someone had paused it decades ago. A single individual stood near the edge of the frame. His face was obscured, his uniform partially hidden, yet one detail remained visible. A silver insignia. Felt her heart race. The symbol, what symbol? The one from my memory. Adrian zoomed in. The insignia resembled a stylized star surrounded by 3 circles. Neither recognized it. Military? No. Intelligence agency? Don't think so. The mystery deepened. Then another discovery appeared. File had been altered repeatedly. Dozens of edits, sections removed, records overwritten. Clears throat. Someone had spent years making sure this footage remained buried. Adrian slowly leaned back. That's not suspicious at all. You're being sarcastic. Extremely. The coffee machine beeped. Sarcasm levels critical. Before they could continue, alarms suddenly erupted across the bridge. Every display turned red. Escort fleet had detected something. Adrian immediately checked the sensors. The unknown ships were moving fast, very fast, not attacking, not retreating, converging from multiple directions. Military channels exploded with activity, formation adjustments, threat assessments, target tracking. The bridge became tense. Stepped closer to the display. What are they doing? Nobody knew. Several seconds passed. Then one of the escort commanders transmitted an update. The unidentified vessels had begun deploying drones, hundreds of them, small, fast, difficult to track. The military fleet prepared for combat. Weapon systems powered up. Adrian stared at the readings, then frowned. Wait, what? Those aren't attack drones. The data continued arriving. The objects carried no weapons, no shielding, no military systems, just sensors. Thousands of sensors. The realization hit him. They're journalists. Silence. Then Era blinked. What news? Organizations. More data arrived. He started reading. Vessel registrations, interstellar news, network, galactic observer, cosmic herald, universal broadcast consortium. The unidentified fleet wasn't a secret strike force. It was the largest collection of reporters in recorded history. The coffee machine beeped. Threat level embarrassing. I laughed. Despite the tension, even some military officers sounded annoyed, and admirals. Transmission briefly leaked onto a public channel. I mobilized 3 battle groups for reporters. The recording instantly went viral. For a few minutes, the galaxy seemed more interested in that than the princess herself. Then another message arrived. This one wasn't funny. It appeared directly on Adrian's console. No sender, no origin, no traceable route, only 4 words. He remembers too much. Adrian's smile vanished. Lara looked at the message, then at him. The bridge became silent. Not she remembers, he remembers. The message was about Adrian. Someone wasn't only watching the princess. Someone was watching him. And somewhere in the shadows of the Empire, people were becoming increasingly afraid of what he might reveal. The message remained on the screen. He remembers too much. For several seconds, neither Adrian nor Elra spoke. Then another memory surfaced. This time it wasn't Elra who remembered. It was Adrian. Distant conversation. A damaged chamber, hidden deep inside an ancient structure. Within the veil expanse, at the time he Had barely understood it, now everything. Suddenly connected. Wait, Elra looked at him. What is it? Adrian stared at the message. I know why they're afraid. Realization struck him with terrifying clarity. Years ago, while exploring one of the ancient facilities beyond known space, he had accessed fragments of a preserved archive. Most of it had been corrupted. Most of it had seemed meaningless except for one recording. Recording mentioning a royal conspiracy. A recording naming several individuals. At the time, those names had meant nothing. Today they were among the most powerful leaders in the empire, the same people who had overseen the investigation into Elra's disappearance. The same people who had benefited from her absence. Within hours the fleet reached the capital system. What followed became the largest public hearing in imperial history. The recovered archives, the altered security recordings, the intercepted messages, the evidence hidden within the ancient Veil Expanse databases, everything was presented. And finally the missing piece appeared. The man from Era's memory, his identity emerged from preserved records. He had been a security officer, one of the Queen's most loyal protectors. When he learned of the conspiracy, he had secretly helped Elra board an emergency shuttle. He had saved her life and paid for it with his own. The revelation shook the empire. One by one the conspirators were exposed. Arrest followed. Resignations followed. The truth spread across thousands of worlds. The princess had never died. She had been betrayed. Weeks later, peace slowly returned. For the first time in decades, Queen Seraphine no longer carried the weight of uncertainty. Her daughter sat beside her once more, not as a memory, not as a hope, but as family. One evening the royal palace held a celebration unlike any in its history. Representatives from countless worlds attended. Military heroes, scientists, explorers, journalists who were still slightly offended about being mistaken for an attack fleet. Adrian stood near one of the enormous palace windows. He looked deeply uncomfortable. Era approached. You realize the entire galaxy considers you a hero. I was hoping they'd stop. Why heroes get invited to speeches? You hate speeches. I hate pants designed for speeches. She laughed. The month since her return had changed her. The fear that had followed her from the Veil Expanse was gone. The uncertainty was gone. For 25 years she had been surviving. Now she was finally living. And Adrian had changed too. The aimless explorer who once drifted through forgotten regions of space now had something he had never possessed before. A home. The coffee machine rolled into the room on a small transport platform. Neither of them knew who had authorized the upgrade. The machine displayed emotional moment detected. Please leave, Adrian said. Request denied. Elra laughed harder. Outside the palace, billions of lights illuminated the capital world. The future felt open. Again, several months later, a new expedition was launched toward the Veil Expanse, not to hide secrets, to uncover them. The ancient region beyond known space would finally be explored openly. On the morning of the launch, Adrian and Elra stood together on an observation platform overlooking the departing ships. The stars stretched endlessly above them. So Elra said quietly, yes, you once told me you were lost when you found the Veil Expanse. I was, and now. Adrian looked toward the stars. Then toward her. A small smile appeared. Now I know exactly where I am. For Moment neither spoke, the silence fell. Comfortable earned, the kind of silence that comes after a long journey finally reaches its destination. Above them the expedition fleet vanished into hyperspace. Ahead of them lay new discoveries, behind them lay the truth. The lost princes had returned, the conspiracy had fallen, the galaxy had changed, and somewhere beyond the edge of known space, among ancient stars and forgotten gates, countless mysteries still waited, but this time they would be faced together.